right, so now we are getting to the juicy stuff, the stuff you all want to hear. Now I'm going to talk about the most disappointing rooms that I heard at the show. Rooms that I had high expectations for, and I just left completely baffled and confused as to what I heard. So with that said, let's get started and talk about the rooms that really disappointed me. One of the rooms that I had high hopes for, high expectations for, was the avant-garde speakers that they were showcasing at the show. This system, guys, was enormous, just massive. I mean, I don't even think it can fit in my room here. It is just so much real estate, so many pieces. To me, the sound was very much like this. I felt like I was talking like this. This is what I was doing. This is how it sounded when I was in the middle. I couldn't get rid of this sound. It was like this the whole time. And it bothered me. It annoyed me. It sounded good, but the vocals just bothered me. Just the whole thing that someone's talking like, just like this. It bothered me. Like, it never really, I couldn't get through that. I couldn't feel relaxed. It's like my mind went off thinking, hey, this doesn't sound natural. I'm not really knocking the system because I am sure it's one of the best systems in the world. But I thought when you look at $140,000, the space that takes, it's just, I just can't really justify that kind of money for that performance, for that level of performance. I feel like I can find so many other speakers in the $140,000 range that could do a lot better, at least for me. Another room that disappointed me was the Steinheim with the VTL amplifiers. Guys, this was, I can't even articulate it to you guys. This room to me was just boring. Absolutely no imaging, very weak sounding. It didn't have any dynamics. It didn't have any sort of engaging feeling to it. It never caught my attention. I sat there, I moved left to right, right to left. It felt slow, like if I was listening to funeral music, but it wasn't funeral music. Does that make sense? It felt so sluggish, so lethargic. It could have been the VTL amplifiers maybe that I was hearing through the speakers. I really do not know, but I'm not here to dissect systems. I'm here to give you guys what I took away from each room and from what I heard from the entire system as a whole. I'm not here to separate things and create scenarios. If they had used this with that, it could have been better. Another room that I really got, once again, guys, just so disappointed at was the MBL room, guys. The MBL room, guys, one more time, beautiful to look at. Incredible level of construction. It's just gorgeous to look at, but it sounds so confused. It sounds so diffused. It sounds so not accurate to me. It feels like I'm chasing the images in the air, but I can't really locate them. I can't really pinpoint things. I can't really separate instruments. And it's just, I don't know, maybe I just don't like omnidirectional speakers. I really can't say it, guys. But it was not impressive. And the fact that you have to buy their amplifiers to make things sound right, it's just painful. Another room that disappointed me was the Base Audio speaker. That speaker, guys, it looks cool. I'm not gonna lie. It looks really cool. It looks like it belongs in the year 2050, 2060. Love the look of the speaker. I really do. The presentation was probably as bad as the MBLs, probably if not worse than the MBLs. The bass was kind of like in the room, but you didn't know if it was missing bass, if it was missing the lowest octaves. There was just an entire lack of organization in the presentation. Everything was just meshed together. Everything was just completely blended, as if it's like if you went there and you had a smoothie and you threw carrots, cilantro, mangoes, pineapple together, and it's all blended in milk at the end, and then you drink it. It's a combination of stuff in a blender, and then you drink it, and then you're like, okay, what am I tasting? I think I have pineapple in my mouth, and I think I have milk, and I think there is some mangoes in there. That's kind of how the feeling went with the speaker. I can't really explain it. Now again, I'm giving everyone the benefit of the doubt here, okay? It could have been room conditions. It could have been the electronics that they were using. So many factors, guys. My job here is to tell you guys what I heard. Another room that was quite disappointing to me was the Alex V room, which belongs to the same store that showcased the Sasha DAW and the Sonos Fabre Aida. I had such high expectations for that speaker. I can't begin to tell you, because I've owned the Alex. I have not owned the Alex V, and I understand that it's a different speaker. I heard it, I walked into the room. What do you know? What amplifiers do you think they have in the middle? Yes, those amplifiers. I have been very vocal about the fact that I believe those are some of the worst amplifiers I've owned. I'm not going to lie here. I'm not going to sugarcoat things, okay? It's my opinion. And I believe those amplifiers are some of the most lethargic, slow-sounding amplifiers I have ever heard. I actually believe the stereo version of these monos is better, faster sounding, with much more snap. It's more dynamic. The monos are just so slow, guys. And the Alex V's came out trying to swing, trying to punch me in the gut, and they couldn't, because they had no power behind them. There was absolutely nothing happening. The Sasha DAW, in my opinion, murdered the Alex V's. Murder them because of the fact that they had the right amplifier behind them. I've been very vocal about this. I have owned 6 pairs of Wilson Audio speakers. You would think I know a thing or two about Wilson Audio speakers, having owned 6 pairs, right? I'm telling you, Wilson, in my opinion, has always sounded the most dynamic with good, big power. Class A, Class AB. I have never been extremely impressed with Wilson Audio and tube amplification. Now, I'm not saying I've heard every tube amplifier, because I know Lamb is supposed to sound really good with Wilson Audio speakers. And I get that, and I have never done that. I understand that. But hear me out. When it comes to getting the most explosiveness, the dynamics that Wilson Audio speakers are known for, okay? We all know that could perhaps be the most dynamic speaker, box speaker anyway, that exists today. And you're putting something so slow sounding, so sleepy sounding into a speaker that's capable of going as fast as a race car, you're gonna really negate one of the biggest attributes of the speaker. I don't feel that tubes are right for Wilson Audio speakers. Now, that's my opinion, and I'll say it again. I wish they would have had at least the same Sim Audio 860 version 2. Quite frankly, I think that amplifier would have probably sounded better than those 160M monos that cost more money. But that's neither here or there. Hopefully, I get a chance to hear the Alex V in the future with the right amplification. Please, whoever is going to set up an Alex V, if you're watching me, if you're going to set up an Alex V at a show, please don't bring tubes with that speaker. Use solid state. Dan D'Agostino, Griffin, Boulder, use solid state amplification. Do not use tubes. It makes the speaker fall asleep in front of you. And lastly, guys, to wrap things up, it was a great show. I'm not going to lie, it was a great show. As I mentioned, it was a really, really good show, guys. But there was a lot of rooms there that were so much money, guys. I'm talking $1 million worth of gear in there. Between the speakers, the DACs, the preamplifiers, the amplifiers, the cabling, top-notch electronics that were just so disappointing. So disappointing, guys. I heard rooms there that there's a lot of conversations about them online, on different forums. They're talking about how great it is, how good it is, and what it does and it doesn't do. And the reality, guys, is Nah, guys, and again, I'm not saying that it was not the room, or maybe, it could be so many factors, right? Maybe they didn't have the right electronics, the right cabling, whatever, you name it. But the truth is, I cannot make excuses here. We went to a show and we heard what we heard. Whatever the room had, we heard. We can't be thinking about scenarios and creating some sort of a situation or circumstances that would be better suited for the speaker or the system in place, okay? We got what we got. We heard what we heard. If it sucked, okay, so what? It was the room. Well, we're not going to make excuses for anybody here. Some of those rooms had expensive gear, some esoteric looking stuff, weird alien stuff, things that were on wheels, things that had all kinds of just crazy designs that were cool to look at, but the reality is I got nothing from it. I felt absolutely no connection. And you know what? Believe it or not, I am actually tired of the usual suspects always winning shows for me. The Wilsons of the world, the Magicals of the world, the Focals of the world. But the reality is that everybody else is trying to do greater things, and they're excelling at that. And don't get me wrong, they are. Some good brands out there are really, really getting closer and narrowing the gap with the big heavy hitters of the industry. But the truth is, some of these other brands come up with some concepts that I don't know where they heard it. I don't know how they piecemeal together things, that they're convinced that some of this stuff sounds amazing. They really believe in their hearts that what they're hearing is incredible just because it is close to $1 million worth of components. And I'm like, I don't want to rub anybody off the wrong way. I don't want to piss anybody off. That's not what I'm there for. I'm not there to build enemies, create any sort of friction with anybody. I'm there to just simply evaluate, and I am not going to call anybody out. And there were some rooms there that were astronomically priced, and the sound was just terrible. I could have found other rooms there that for a tenth of the money would have killed those rooms. So it goes to show you that money doesn't always mean you're going to end up with the best system. Okay, so I have never been, unfortunately, happy with what I've heard at any Bond Striker room with the matching VAC system, because they always play, again, the very slow music that I can't really gauge the presentation. It doesn't allow me to really vibe with the music. Okay, so, and I think they do that on purpose, because the truth is, how can you show up to every show with the same speakers and the same electronics and then the same music? So what have you done different from one show to the next? Where have you improved? If you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you don't see your name pop up as one of the best rooms by any magazine or by any publication, then maybe it's time to look in the mirror and figure out what you're doing. Is it the speakers maybe that suck? Maybe you need to get rid of the speakers and buy a different set of speakers and try with your top-end electronics. Is it the electronics maybe? Maybe it's time to get rid of that brand and buy brand B and try something different. So you have to constantly reinvent yourself. If you are an exhibitor, you just can't keep bringing the same recipe over and over and over again, and you see that the system isn't really getting better. Look, there were rooms in there that I actually rated really high at the Florida Audio Expo. Rooms that you guys already know what they are, because you've seen my previous evaluation of the Florida Audio Show. Okay, and this case at this show, I didn't even mention them. Why? Because I'm comparing those manufacturers, those speakers, those amplifiers, whatever you want to call it, I'm comparing those exhibitors to their last presentation. And in some cases, I feel like they went backwards from what I heard at the last showing. So remember, when I compare something, I'm going by the last version of that same system that I heard. So if it went backwards and it doesn't sound as good as it did last time, in my opinion, I can't put you front and center and give you my top room or one of the best rooms, because I'm hearing it against what you put together elsewhere, which was clearly superior to what you have put together today or this past weekend. One honorable mention is a speaker that I had never heard before, and that's Audio Vector. Now, this is a speaker that some of you guys mentioned to me, and I went and got out there to hear them. I was actually surprised. It's a Danish speaker. Sounds extremely clear, very beautiful sounding. I thought it had subwoofers. I really did. And it turns out it doesn't. It never did. I was very impressed. I believe they were $15,000. That was one real beautiful presentation. I couldn't believe there were only $15,000 because the sound had so much of the presentation that you normally get from more expensive offerings. Another speaker that I should mention, another honorable mention to me, is the POLK Audio R200. This speaker retails for $749, and they had it connected with some Denon integrated, I believe it was. And I couldn't believe the presentation that was coming out of those speakers. Some people approached me to tell me about the speaker, and I'm like, what am I going to go there for? I mean, $749, it can't be that good. But I went. I was very surprised, guys. I was very surprised with the performance that those speakers put on. So, POLK Audio, if you're watching this, kudos to you. I really like and I really dig those $749 speakers. Hopefully you don't raise them to $1,000 now that I'm saying they're good, because I know how that works, okay? Keep them at $749. They're a great value. It's no secret by now that I've had POLK Audio in my early days. That's where I came from, okay? So it's very nice to see you guys really building better product. I love the tonality of the speaker. It had a huge sound stage. It had great bass. They sounded way larger than they look. And for $749, man, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, $749, where could I put those in my house? Because the sound that I heard there, I'm like, man, I can put those in any room in the house for $749 with a Denon integrated. I'm like, this works anywhere. This is a perfect small setup for somebody who is looking to not break the bank and have real quality sound. I think it's less than $2,000 for both pieces. You really should get out there and listen to these speakers with a Denon integrated. I really dig that presentation. And then the last thing that really is an honorable mention to me is Tiger Fox. This thing blew my mind, guys. They had some JBL speakers that were like $100. They're like self-powered speakers, and the guy was using like an iPhone connected with like a cable into the speaker. Guys, I can't begin to tell you how amazing this sounded. There was so much clarity. It was like a surround sound effect. It really taught me how much the room influences what we hear every day. It really taught me how bad our rooms sound, because in this capsule or cubicle or whatever we want to call it, you sit in the middle, and it really does the best job at showing you what your speakers are capable of displaying. I heard things behind my head, over my head, in front of me. The vocals were locked in the center. I even got bass, if I'm being honest. I heard bass. Everything about that, and it was like $500 for that mat where that you use to sit in the middle of. I was extremely surprised, guys. As a matter of fact, I almost bought it on the spot. I almost bought one of them because I figured, you know what, this is perfect for someone who lives in an apartment that can't play music too loud, that can't really treat a room, and they want to do near field listening. This is perfect for those of you who live in a small area, in a small place. I really think you guys should look into this, okay? Because it does do a lot of neat things. It made me question my purchases behind me, because I heard so much clarity and resolution and spaciousness and imaging that was incredible. So I figure some of you guys might really be interested in checking that out, okay? Tiger Fox. I know nothing about the brand itself. I just heard it and saw it there for the first time. I hope you guys have enjoyed my take of the 2022 Axpona Audio Expo. Once again, thank you to those of you who came out to hear me speak with OCD Mikey. That interview hopefully will drop in the near future. Thank you for all that support. It has been a pleasure and a blessing to meet all of you at the show. Until next time, stay tuned and peace.